Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Darkness in Dublin, a venue for Vampire the Masquerade. Tonight, we set the scene beginning with Monique, who has returned home after a night of hunting and feeding on the mortal populace, having retreated back to her domain to rest, to her haven, only to find within there is a letter that was not there before. And upon reading it, notes to her that she is invited to a place known as the Drunken Scavian, among other things. So what does Monique do when she's after reading this rather ominous letter that has been placed within her domain without her consent?
Well, after initially freaking out, she's going to call the sheriff. Quite alarmed, so the phone rings.
Francis's 500 miles ringtone goes off. He picks up the phone. Says, Monique, how are you?
Something has happened. I need you to come here right now.
Okay, what happened?
Someone was in my house.
What?
I returned home right now and I found a letter on my table. My housekeeper had a day off, so there's no way she left it there. It's from an old acquaintance of mine. I'd rather not speak about it over the phone, though.
Okay, I'll be right there.
All right, I'll wait.
See you soon.
See you soon.
But yeah, Francis gets there ASAP.
He gets the what out?
He gets there ASAP. He gets to Monique's Haven in a few minutes. You see him pull up in his vastly overpriced Aston Martin, and you see him head towards your building. Slightly flustered and harried.
Well, Monique is probably pacing back and forth in the living room, freaking the fuck out.
Okay, what's happened? What's happened to your haven?
I don't know. Okay. I was out, and it's like a bit blubbery, and I have the level 2 curse, so I'm a bit stuttery when I'm when I'm not composed. Okay, so I was out, and I came back, and this thing was on the table. I will send the text on the thing so you can read it. separately. There's a text. So this guy, I really didn't know this guy was Kindred. Honestly, remember when I told you that at some point back in the day I had to do some, shady work with forgeries, right?
Hmm.
Well, this is the guy that handled that. Like, he's the guy who uh, found buyers for them. He was like a black market guy. And now he's here and looking for me.
Why is he looking for you?
I don't know. I mean, okay, by the message, it seems he wants to do more business, or he wants to blackmail me and ruin my reputation or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to meet him alone. That's for sure.
Well, he's either very young or very old if he decided to break into your haven. Alright.
I don't know.
I can come with you if you wish. My presence there would probably be enough to dissuade any reckless action.
I sure hope so. Just, just don't be aggressive. If it's not necessary. I just want to see what this guy wants. If we can avoid conflict, that would be much preferable by me, honestly. Oh, God, I didn't think I would have to even think about this. It's been 20 years. Should have known that my past would catch up on me at some point. In any case, shall we go?
Yes, less. But for the record, you do tend to be a bit of an exception. Usually our mortal histories do not catch up with us. So it would appear you're quite special.
Well, it's one of these times that I wish I was not.
He ruffles her hair.
Okay, let's go. She'll kinda lean on him and walk with him out.
When you get to the bar, you realize that it's a kind of older, typical Irish pub kind of look to it, but it's been revamped and slightly modernized, almost more of a kind of techno feeling now. And ironically, it has been turned into somewhat of a nerd slash gamer bar. Everything is gamer themed. It's somewhat based on Vampire the Masquerade, the role play game. There's board games, there's dice, there's all sorts of fun stuff. It's like this big fun gaming bar now. And you see that it's pretty decent. It's got its own little restaurant on the side, then the bar's on the left. And when you go around to the back, that's where the loading area is. And for anyone who's there, you'll see kind of the gate where the back goes in and where a lot of the trucks come and unload their stuff. And you'll see a guy waiting there for you. Not me, just one of my associates, and he'll look at you and he'll kind of see like he's got something in his ear, and he'll kind of wave you guys on when he sees you coming.
Francis is just going to make a roll. He's going to scan the entire room of aura perception. He is looking for auras of ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I assume you're not hiding in the room.
Oh, no. Not in that room. I'm down in the
Okay.
basement.
Francis gets 6 successes.
Oh yes, very easily. There are multiple ghouls that mostly are security at the establishment, and that's about it. There's about 4, maybe 5. You can tell. Most of the others are human employed.
All right.
But pretty much, yeah. But pretty
He just
much all the
makes
security you see as ghouls.
yeah. He just makes note of all of them. He in particular he makes note of the ghouls mainly because Francis is paranoid and is just kind of noting okay.
Yeah,
Andrew.
you can easily see all of them. There's about 5 or 6. They are well armed and well armored in terms of kind of secretively. Like they don't have machine guns out or whatever. But if you got 6 successes, you can clearly tell that some of these guys are packing pretty good. But
yeah, they got sidearms and stuff. They got illegal weapons on.
They're not hostile either. They're just kind of slouching.
They're just doing their job.
Hey, how's it going? If you have heightened senses up with hearing as well, do you?
He does.
We both
and that's actually
yes.
depends. Is there music on in the club? Because if he's risking overstimulation, he actually wouldn't.
Tonight there is not because it's kind of quiet.
Okay.
There's a couple gamers and game boards going on, but you can hear a voice come on in the one guy's microphone. It's like, yeah, that's them. Go ahead and let him in. And the guy, when he looks up and sees you, he waves you on very nonchalantly, holds up his hand. He doesn't even check you for weapons. He just says, go on in.
Yeah, it should be noted Francis is he's a concealed firearm on him and a concealed knife. Other than that, he's more or less clean.
Yep. He'll probably figure that out once you walk through the little beeper, but he's not going to stop you or check you.
You have a beeper in the fucking bar, Jesus.
For some particular areas, yes. For the front door and the side entrances, no. For the back door and basement, yes.
Okay.
And then if you proceed on downward, it's it's this little kind of security doorway. It goes down, then you go down into a little hallway, and there's this whole little almost what looks like office kind of section down underneath where some of the business would be done. Normally it's on top of the bars, but this one is of course down below. And you'll eventually come to a rather nice looking room. It's been furbished with nice red and gold carpet. It's got a lot of nice pictures on the wall, some of which you might suspect to be counterfeit art, but you don't know. It's got a couple. It's just a classic, knick-knack, almost exotic-looking kind of thing, but it's not in your face, oh my god, look at this. It's just real nice and fancy. It almost doesn't even look like a work office. It looks more like a lounge office, and it's pretty big, nice oval shape. And you'll see a man, kind of pale, with a standard brown hair, brown eyes, about 6'2", maybe about 200 pounds, in a nice tuxedo, kind of looking up at one of the pictures.
I currently have all specs active. What's your obfuscate rating?
5.
Oh, we're actually maxed then. We're actually even. It's a roll off then, I think. Let me double check what the roll is for that.
Sure thing.
And I think it's my perception awareness. God damn it! It's
versus my stealth obfuscate.
No, it's perception awareness. And you roll manipulation and subterfuge. Difficulty for the roll is 7 for both of us.
Manipulation and subterfuge. Okay.
Oh,
so you'll probably beat me on that one because I only got.
Where are you doing the rolls?
I'm doing it in the wrong place. My apologies.
Discord, right?
I'm doing it in the wrong place.
You'll probably have more dice than me. I only got 6 for this one, and it's difficulty 7. You said?
Yeah, it's difficulty 7. Yeah, I haven't been using.
Do tens explode?
If you've got a specialty in obfuscate,
I don't have a special. Well, actually, I do.
it's what's your subterfuge specialty or your manipulation specialty?
Manipulation specialty would be just
You have over 4?
friendly deception. So
Hmm.
yes, that would.
I
Yeah.
don't think it would. I think it would have to be
Okay.
like explicitly listed as a discipline or as disciplines.
All right. Well, I got one hit.
Okay. I rolled mine in the wrong place. I apologize. I can roll again if you want, because I got four successes on that roll. So
I don't care.
No,
I'm fine with that.
It's cool. It's cool. Cool.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you can see through. I have Mask of 1,000 Faces on.
Okay. But yeah, he'd see your kind of the form you're trying to disguise.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he actually look like, I guess?
What he actually looks like is he's very gray. He doesn't have quite as pointed ears as most Nosferatu do, but he does have a bald head. But he's got. You notice that Mask of 1,000 Faces. He's also disguising his clothing.
Wait, I can find. I can actually get the image exactly.
Yeah, I actually have the image. Actually, it's the image in the text box right there that I have. But he's got like an old-fashioned, almost Western hat on with a gray duster. He almost looks like a really cool, badass version of the Merchant from Resident Evil 4. He's got like this very. It's almost like just completely out of place outfit. And you also notice that let's see, with 1, 2, 3, yeah, with 4 hits, you would also see that he is obfuscating a pretty big revolver on the side of his hip, a Tornado 50 caliber.
I'm glad you didn't say boner.
Well, that would just be silly. I'm not a Torador. Come on.
Okay. Okay. This guy here.
Oh, it looks like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he have the hat though?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy as long as he has the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can still see his normal face, his abnormal face, I suppose.
Yeah, Francis, for his part, he's wearing basically kind of like the high collar, the high neck collared shirt that he's got in his overlay. He's got a bit of a baby face going on. Has fairly well toned curly hair. Fairly tall, like 5'8", 5'8.5". So slightly above average height. Looks quite non-threatening, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. He turns and he sees that you guys are in there, unless of course you guys are stealthing.
No, we're not stealthing.
He kind of turns, he looks, he's like, welcome.
Well,
I do not. Welcome, fellows. Can I offer you anything? I know that our particular situation doesn't allow us to enjoy certain pleasures, but is there anything I can get you?
well. Oh, to see you here. I'm okay. I wouldn't need anything personally. How about you, Francis?
Yes.
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, it's very good to see you again, Monique. How have you been?
Well, I've been better. I honestly didn't expect to hear from you, especially in this manner.
Well, indeed, I do apologize, but the circumstances kind of warranted it. I was just only recently came here to do business and to, kind of help out around. And I was given a rather warm reception, but my companions were really not that warm to you. So I figured it would be best to, discuss things a bit more privately rather than out in the open, especially since, he kind of looks down and his eyes kind of, give a little raise. He's like, especially with some of the things they said. Ugh. But I've done business with you before. You're pretty reasonable. I would consider you possibly a good business associate here. And he holds up his hand before you even start talking. He's like, Now, I assure you, Miss Monique, not all of my business is considered bland, as you call it. Some of it is actually quite profitable to the average man. I'm merely here to help out my fellow clan and to help out all the vampire clans as a whole kind and ourselves, and to help out local kindred with their problems. That's what I am. I'm a businessman and a problem solver. If there's something you need, I can get it. That's what I do.
The thing
You know that.
is, I'm afraid that you might create problems for me.
How so?
Well, you
If-
know things from my past that could ruin my reputation within the Camarilla. That's a big thing.
But you remembered the last time we did business, the boon that I owed you was is that I would never tell those things to anyone. And I am
That was
bound by
over
my word.
20 years ago. I wasn't even kindred back then. So I don't know if
Oh, I can.
that sword.
He chuckles a little bit and he's like, Monique, I consider a deal a deal. I am not going to tell any kindred anything about you. Period. That's not my business. I have already made that deal with you, and I will never be speaking of your past to anyone other than you, of course.
Alright, so what kind of business would you propose we can do then? Because I'm not doing this kind of work anymore.
Well, in all honesty, my particular business that I'm trying to bring in is a bit of firepower at personal request of my clanmates and others. I'm also going to bring in some contacts, perception, and information gathering. I'll also probably be doing a bit of underworld trading, if you know what I mean. But right now, I believe my colleagues just need some arsenal and some supplies for right now. But I was going to ask what kind of business you wanted to associate in. I remember that you were quite good in the fine arts, although from what I hear, you've kind of strayed away from that.
Well, my business have always been art restoration primarily. I mean, okay, I was in hard times. I had to make ends meet somehow. Forgeries was an easy venue, I suppose.
Hmm. I
But
forget, Monique. I've forgotten. Are you an artist yourself?
yes, I restore artwork mostly.
Hmm. Well, it just so happens that I do have a rather large shipment of art that needs a lot of restoration, and unfortunately, I can't really find too many experts around here, and you're the best I know right now. In all honesty, I would very much like to hire you.
We will have to go over the details first.
Of course. As always, I always outline all my business in paperwork, in triplicate and signed, always so you have copies, so in case, another kindred decides to burn one or steal one, you've got the extra copy.
Okay. However, why would you guys need so much firepower?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't asked around yet, and although I'm gathering information, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say somebody knows that something's going to go down, or somebody's going to try and take on somebody, if you know what I mean. I'm still
Yeah,
getting the gist of that. Now,
that's
one
not
thing I wanted
concerning at all.
Because
to.
I was going to ask, do you know why your clan is asking for additional firepower?
Well, from the sounds of it, the Nosferatu are expecting us to come under attack from all sides, possibly by the Sabbat or something else. They think that our clans are going to come under siege, and they wish to be prepared. I am fairly new to the area, but apparently there was already some conflict that happened here, and the Nosferatu took the brunt of it, so they wish to be prepared.
Hmm.
At least that's all I know right now. And of course, I can't share certain aspects that I've heard, but I'll share with you what I think other kindred should hear. And I do think that you should hear that there are a few clans, not just the Nosferatu, that believe that we are going to come under attack soon. Not sure by what, Not sure by where or when, but soon.
Well, it's not like the attacks ever stopped, honestly. There's
Yeah, I was
always
going to say, we're
something.
already under attack.
Yeah, something's got him spooked though. I will say that much. I mean, when I was introduced, it was clear that everyone was on edge, and I do
Hmm.
mean edge. Something has the higher up spooked. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask when I first came here. I was introduced, and there seems to be a lot of hostility between the Nosferatu and the Torador, and the Nosferatu and the Ventrue, especially. Uh, what exactly happened? I heard it from their side, but I'd like to hear your side of the story.
Nosferatu and Ventrue, well, I suppose that's largely political. I wasn't around for that. But as for Nosferatu and Clan Toreador, to be honest, I haven't seen all that much hostility between our clans. There's been
Interesting.
personal
Well, just as
personal feuds, but nothing I'd say that matches
okay.
a macro level.
Well,
I mean,
just to give you a fair warning, there are a few people kind of high up in the Nosferatu who don't really like your clan for some reason, and don't even get me started on how they feel about the Ventrue. Um, so yeah, I kind of see this as a problem because we as a community are always stronger as a whole than we are separate. So I do not want to see in-squabbling between clans. Believe me, I saw that in Germany, and that didn't end too well. Millions died.
Well, that is true. However,
I mean,
okay, the only conflicts I have seen is pretty much between the sheriff here and the Seneschal, but that about it. I mean, I had a recent phone call with Dr. Brightman.
yes, the good doctor.
He seems more than reasonable.
Oh, he seems
yes,
perfectly reasonable.
well, the thing of Essential, I wouldn't really call it some sort of Clan Toreador Nosferatu thing. It's more just a disagreement that's already been resolved. So,
Like I said, I don't want to, try and spread rumors of things here and there. I'm just giving fair warning as to what the impression that I got when I was first introduced, and some things I've been gathering around, of course. I also wanted to ask. I'm a bit knowledgeable in the occult. I'm a bit knowledgeable in the sciences myself, and I need to gather some supplies for Dr. Brightman if he asks it of me. But I also wanted to ask, how are our fronts doing here? Like, are we in serious trouble for dire need of defenses, or what? Like, what's really the gist here? I mean, normally it's the Sabbat going against the Camarilla because they feel that the codes have been broken. Blah blah blah. What's going on around here?
There's a blood-hunted anarch, who is quite obviously a Sabbat infiltrator, not really going to entertain any other alternative. It is flagrantly obvious. He went to, from the reports I've seen, went to assist a red lister. So,
do you have his name? I can perhaps aid in this blood hunt.
Yes, his name is Spudgun. His alias. I believe he's also a clanless. Effectively, what happened was that the Anarchs decided to back him despite him being an obvious traitor who turned on one of their own, which leads me to believe the Anarchs are Sabbat sympathizers themselves, and have effectively declared.
What's his name again?
Spudgun. And Francis really does set a fat man of disdain. He literally rolls his eyes when he says the name, as if like really he called himself out.
Interesting. It's like you see Sam get out a little notepad and he starts writing stuff down.
I have individuals on it, but I'm always appreciative of assistance.
Well, of course. I mean, we can't have people going around causing that kind of trouble.
No,
It's just not good for business, and it's not good for the plants.
he's just a bad
And
infiltrator. He's to be destroyed.
he kind of coughs up, and then he says, "So how is your lupine situation here?"
And lupine situation. I haven't dealt with lupines in decades.
Okay.
Haven't heard him. Haven't seen much of them, to be honest, which is a flagrant lie because he saw one at the party. He was in. So if he's gonna roll, because enchanting voice, so the difficulty is lowered. But
Yeah, I actually work with a few interesting fellows.
You work with them?
Oh yeah, associates. I made a lot of associates during the war. Believe me, I saw some crazy stuff. Ugh, don't even get me going into that.
Very fascinating. All the ones I've seen have tried to kill me on sight.
Not all of them are completely driven to kill us, although I do understand why they like to kill us. I did do a lot of reading into that. Apparently, it's our blood.
It's a waste of blood.
Indeed. They call it, what was the word? Essence of worm. Apparently, I would be here for 8 hours trying to think of what things are going on and explaining different threads and spider webs, but I think the basic gist of it is we have some bad taint in our blood, and they are the soldiers to fight it. And that is why werewolves hate us so much. And that's pretty much the only reason.
Doesn't really surprise me, to be honest, but, well, explains that.
Indeed. But if you want something, if you want something dead, they are great assets for that. And don't even get me started on all the other things that go bump in the night with us. Ugh. Nonetheless, they all make good. Most of them make good associates as long as you get on their good side.
I'd rather just stay away from them, honestly.
Yes, they're better left to their own devices, from what I've seen. In my experience, most kindred who have been overconfident enough to deal with them or trying to turn them into pawns have met very brief and unscrupulous ends.
Indeed. I've dealt with them, with at least my associates, my handful of associates, for almost 80 years now, and I think the trick is to simply not try to manipulate them or turn them into pawns, ironically. Well, at least. Yeah, I guess the trick is to just not be a dick, as they say. They have been very, very helpful, but yes, you're right. It can be difficult to, especially for ones of us, to try and find associates who are of that nature, but luckily I have found myself in a good position with that. Like I said, a lot of things happened during the war. It was very troubling times. Saw a lot of interesting things. Which brings me to why I've wanted you both here. As I said, I'm trying to gain a foothold in this city, in this area, and from what I hear, the prince will not see me, or does not wish to bother to see me. Simply gave me permission to start, and that was that. But I wish to establish a foothold here, and I wanted to ask you about things, updates, and things that are going on, and things that need to get done, or things that you might want. Like I said, I'm a businessman. I do business, and I get things for people. So if there's any business you wish to conduct, or if there's anything that you want, I'll do my best to get it for you. I mean, I can't give it to you for free, obviously, because if you're good at something, never do it for free. But I can definitely make your lives easier if you want me to. I am here to help out my clan, and I am here to help out fellow associates. And I've worked with Monique before, and if any friend of Monique, I think is a reasonable person. So, can we do business?
Well, I suppose I could have a look at your shipment of art when it arrives,
Hmm.
and I can
I'll
give you
probably
an
be here
estimate.
tomorrow night. Hmm.
And I can give you
Actually,
an estimate at that time.
I actually have one piece right here if you wanted to look at it for me.
Well, it is something that does take time, however.
Hmm. He kind of points over to a canvas. It looks like it's covered up with a blanket. You're never gonna believe this, but a will worker painted that.
A
He
what?
kind of he kind of looks up at you two. He's like, do you know anything about the will workers? Either of you? He kind of just looks nonchalantly.
No.
No?
This is a very blank look from Francis.
Basically, the will workers. You know the Tremere
Mm-hmm.
and their sorcery that they obtained long ago from their incident.
It's basically they're basically Tremere that didn't make themselves Tremere.
Not quite. The will workers are Tremere. The will workers make the Tremere look like party magicians. The will workers are Tremere that are far, far more skilled at what they do than the Tremere. Because let's not forget that the Tremere borrowed their power. It's not theirs from birth, from basic right. They took the power and molded it into something unique. However, the will workers can do that and much more.
If that is the case, wouldn't the artwork be magical or enchanted or something?
At first I thought so. But it's not. Apparently it was just made from a hobby. However, one thing you are correct in is his magic was, I think, at least according to the Tremere contact I have who's looked at it, like I said, I still haven't gotten certain people to look at it yet, but from what my associates have said, there was definitely magic used to paint this painting. However, the painting itself seems to be non-magical in nature. It does not seem to have any crude effects, any curses, unless there's a really powerful demon or something possessing it. I don't know. I heard there was a little incident with a demon.
Well, before I go
a
anywhere
couple
near
nights
it,
ago, and it was real bad.
honestly, before I go anywhere near it, I would ask that you have it examined by a Tremere.
I have. Like I said, I wouldn't have brought it here if I hadn't had it examined.
If I may,
Believe me.
I would perhaps give a word of advice not to be quite so forward in your assessments of the Tremere in relation to these will workers, at least not in front of them. Particularly given that they used to own the princedom here.
Yeah. Oh, heavens no. And believe me, I respect the Tremere. Like I said, I have associates in the Tremere. It's just that the incident that happened long ago is some Tremere look on it as a grand thing, a grand success. Some of them look on it as a curse. It all depends on how they look at it. But I would never talk such bluntly in front of the Tremere themselves or in front of a Kodiak. If you are associated with the Tremere or have associations or are a Tremere yourself, I do apologize.
This does give me an opportunity to mention another couple of problems in the city. Another reason why you may want to be cautious regarding the Tremere is that one of them, the number 3 member of the red list, is within the domain of Dublin.
Interesting.
No, not interesting. The lengths we've had to go through to even abate the threat have been extremely costly. He looks very serious, like when he says that, as in like, as in like that's a very sour subject for him. Yeah, one of your clan already gave their life in defending the domain from him, Dimitri.
When he hears that, you can see his face kind of scrunch in just a little bit of pain, and he says, "Oh, that's really unfortunate. That always makes things harder, and we just lost some. Terrific." Oh boy. What happened?
Oh, it's quite well. The process, I imagine, was quite complicated. I know. I'm going to refer to the red list as it because it is not a he. It is
an entity, pretty much.
An entity. It is not a person anymore. But It, well, quite obviously stole some gargoyles from the Prime Chancellor of Vienna, and then has brought them here, and has also turned Elysium into something of a portal to another realm of existence. I'm not entirely sure. The closest equivalent I can only imagine would be hell. It was closed by the sacrifice of 169 souls.
He kind of starts writing it down. He's like, "Well, terrific." You know, usually it's the Giovanni that does things like this. It's the first time I've seen the Tremere try something like this.
Francis actually. Francis is checking. Does he seem in any way troubled by the when Francis mentions that 169 people effectively died to make this happen?
Yeah, like you can see, like my guys are very good. He's got a very good composure, but when you say the number, like his eyes kind of like he doesn't like verbally like go, oh my god, but you can like it's like a just slap in the face. Like you can see his face just go boom.
Yeah,
he's like oh, he's like, oh, 169, and then it just kind of goes right back. He composes himself very strong, but you could clearly see like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's just I just bring that up because that's something Francis is specifically looking out for in this.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, okay, 169. He's like you could even see as he's writing it down, he kind of goes, oof.
The threat's
great.
Been abated for the moment. Yes, demons, but it has not reappeared since, which gives us an opportunity to deal with a Sabbat Diochess outside of Dublin.
It'll be back though, I guarantee it.
Oh, it will, but we're going to use the window of opportunity to deal with a Sabbat. At least then we can deal with on a more permanent and swifter basis than the red lister, who is going to take a great deal of planning and hunting in order to bring down. And while I would deal with this blood-hunted Ark, and I am obligated to do so, the simple fact is that the threat of this Anarch and the Anarchs in general are less of a priority than the Sabbat.
He thinks for a moment, and he says, yeah, that's probably why the Arsenal. It's probably why they called me to bring the Arsenal in. That makes sense now. Pieces of the puzzle starting to fit together. And you said there was a group of gargoyles involved here?
We saw them when the Red Lister turned Elysium into its little playground. We haven't seen any of them since Elysium was turned back. But
really, I saw one last night.
Interesting.
Yeah, very secluded woman. Didn't speak much. Was apparently good friends with one of my associates in the Nosferatu. Apparently, she was welcomed there very openly. Is that a problem?
A welcome where in particular?
Well, I can't say where. That would be revealing where we met. Just at the meeting place that we had my introduction. Our council, so to speak.
Yes, because I need to know if this gargoyle is a part of the Red Lister's retinue or not. That
I do not know. All I know is that she was mentioned as gargoyle. Oh well, there was talk of freeing her, or there was I think one of the Nosferatu asked a question of, did she feel free? Was she free? Questions like that. Oh, and do keep in mind that nothing we say leaves this room unless it absolutely has to.
Understood.
That's why I always keep recordings of all sessions, just in case someone tries to screw me. Not that I think you two will. I'm just saying I got to cover my back, okay?
I guess that's fair.
Okay. As long as we're in accord. I don't want to offend. Don't want to make waves. I just have to cover my back because you never know. Either one of you could fall to domination, and I don't know. It's just taking precaution. I do apologize for not telling you about it, but people don't tend to open their mouths and say important things when you tell them they're going to be recorded. But you have my word, I'm not going to use any of this audio unless I absolutely have to. And believe me, if I am dominated or bribed or, shall we say, blackmailed into doing it, I will let you two know before I do it. Because, Monique, I at least trust you. No offense, sir. I've just only met you. But I've
Well,
worked
I
with
am the
Monique
sheriff.
before.
I hope that speaks for itself.
Normally it does. But believe me, I have met a few sheriffs that are not deserving of their stature or their titles. But yes, it does stand for something, and it does give you certain privileges, of course. I guess if I ever just pissed you off, you could just execute me.
Well, you've already given me the ammunition, considering you effectively breached Monique's domain, but yes.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't me personally. That was an associate of mine, but I do apologize for that. I specifically told him to not, and I kind of look up. He looks up at the ceiling. He looks real annoyed. I specifically told him to not break and entering. I told him just to leave it in the mailbox like a normal person. But no, he had to be all dramatic and theme. And when he told me, believe me, I wasn't happy.
Well, yeah, it seemed a bit ominous and dramatic.
And I also told him that was the last thing I needed if I wanted to make good relations with other kindred. That was the last thing I needed. But no. He's got a taste for theatrics. But he's good at what he does. So I keep him around.
Well, it was effective. I'll tell you that.
Well, he is also
I mean-
Malkavian, so I guess it goes without saying.
Oh, well, if I just found it in the mailbox, it wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been very alarmed by it. I can tell you this much.
Indeed. And that's why I
Perhaps you
suggested
wouldn't
just
have
to
met
leave
the
it.
sheriff. So
No. I mean, yeah, I guess, we always look back on decisions we make, but in the end, the only decisions that count are the ones now and the ones we'll make in the future. Unless, of course, you're a will worker and you go back in time, but I don't want to touch that. Yes, they can do that, by the way. It's creepy. Let's see. We've covered that. Covered the arsenal. Covered things. Oh yes. What you two need and want.
What I want would be information on Anarch assets and the Sabat Diachess, considering I'm planning to deal with those shortly. As for tangible personal assets and entities, I'm sorted in that regard.
Mm-hmm. You said Anarch assets, and what else were you looking for?
Sabat assets in their Diachess outside of Dublin.
Dire chess?
Diochess, it is their word for domain. They like to, a lot of their terminology is a perversion of Catholic terms.
Yeah, that's right. They do like to word that, don't they? Let's see. Got that. Check, and check. Excellent. I can easily do that. I was actually looking into that myself when I got here. Because believe me, the last time I went to LA, and don't even get me started on all the stuff going on down there.
Isn't that just an anarch free state?
It's supposed to be an anarch free state, but it's crawling with Sabat. It's ridiculous.
Doesn't surprise me. Considering what I've seen here.
Oh yeah, and the Anarchs were supposed to, and I say in quotes, supposed to keep law and order there, but the Sabat have grown quite a bit of muck recently.
Anarchs keeping law and order.
Indeed.
That's a good one.
You think frontier justice would be more effective against the Sabat, but surprisingly it's not. Let's see. Yeah, I'll ask my influences about that, and I'll get all the information to you. How would you like me to send the information to you, or would you like me to just call meetings and I could just tell you?
A physical report, he'll. Yeah, if you just wish to compile a report, then you can call a meeting with me, and we can make the exchange there. I do prefer physical. He kind of flexes his hand. I do prefer it typed or written up physically, just because it is more secure.
I understand. Got that.
The Sabbat are fairly anachronistic, but they still have their movers and shakers. They do have tech heads of their own, so I prefer to avoid putting more sensitive information
So
out across the airways.
physical paper copies.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, I'm quite good with tech myself nowadays. I understand the whole boggle. It seems like nothing is secure anymore. Even this room, I had to spend a little tiny bit of my resources on just to make sure it was somewhat secure. um, well, that's good to know that at least I know most of the problems going into. You're not having any. He goes through like he pulls out another checklist and he starts going through and he's like, got no lupine problems, no mage problems. And then he starts kind of mumbling. And if you've still got senses on, he says, no mummy problems, no changeling problems, none of that. None of that. Okay, good. Believe me, you don't want to run into any of those other ones. I think our business is concluded unless Monique has anything to add.
Well,
A-
I expect you to give me a call when you receive your large shipment. I would much rather review them all at the same time.
Definitely.
Your rough estimate.
Of course. Standard rate like last time?
Well, we shall see as soon as I know the scale and scope of the undertaking.
Oh, yes. I meant to ask. And he looks kind of at the sheriff and he looks from Monique to the sheriff. Uh, with all the stuff going on, I know the sheriff is probably helping you out with protection, but can you defend yourself, Monique?
Well, I do have some skill with firearms, however, I prefer to avoid such situations in general.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you
far, I
pos-
haven't needed to do any of those things.
do you possess a decent firearm?
Define decent.
Uh, it shoots. It's accurate, and it will shoot with any situation, and it will put down your opponents.
Well, it would work against kind, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. What caliber do you have?
This 9 millimeter.
Okay, yeah, easy enough. He kind of gets up and he goes down into like this little kind of wall safe that's on the ground. He starts kind of fiddling with some stuff, enters key code, does the thumbprint thing and all that. He opens it up and he looks around and he pulls out a clip. He's gonna go ahead and pull out two clips. And he's gonna give it to you. Two small 9 millimeter clips that look like they would fit most 9 mils. Go
What's
ahead
so
and check it.
special about
Go ahead and check. You'll go ahead and check it and make sure it works. Yeah, it fits, and it probably will. He's got caliber
it?
for most weapons.
I don't have
Uh,
my weapon with me at the moment.
he says, "These are some interesting ammunition I had some of my lab boys work up.
Mm-hmm.
They are incendiary rounds.
Oh, definitely
Uh,
helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of effective. I mean, when you shoot bullets at us kindred, it's more like milk duds hitting us. But when you hit us with fire, it hurts. So don't bother shooting a lupine with it because you're just gonna die.
Yeah, I'd rather not see a lupine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess
Fun
this is
fact.
a good way to establish some sort of good relations between us, I suppose.
Indeed, and I do apologize if my business got you in trouble last time. Like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen, and like I said, not all of my
Oh no,
business
it
is
didn't.
shady. It's just
Yeah,
it
it didn't.
happens
It
sometimes.
didn't. It's just that at the time I wasn't kindred. I wasn't
Well,
entirely.
those two clips should make up for what I owe you in terms of physical supplies. Um,
It's
and
definitely helping.
yes, it's good, and it is like I said, it's good to establish proper relations. When people can work together and stay united, it's a much stronger fist than broken up.
I would
He
agree with
he,
that.
he kind of looks up and then he looks at the sheriff. He's like, "Dear God, I'm sounding like an anarch now." Um, he kind of goes and he sits down and he said, "Then I guess our business is concluded. If there's nothing else I can offer or do for you. I'll get to work on looking that up for you, Mr. Sheriff, and I look forward to working with you, Monique. Thank you both for coming. You may see yourselves out."
Well, thank you and have a good evening.
He kind of tips his hat, and as because you see that he reaches up and he grabs for something like a hat that he tips for, but there's nothing there, and he
Mm.
drops his guys, and it's the Nosferatu, the full on like what he actually looks like. And he
Am
just
I
Mm.
tips his hat.
shook?
Um,
Do I need to roll
it's
something for that?
it's you feel very cold, but he doesn't have horrifying visage, so it's just his eyes glow bright blue in the dim light, like it's literally like almost like flashlights,
Like a White Walker.
and he just kind of yeah, literally like a White Walker. That's pretty much what he looks like, and he just tips his hat and he goes back to writing his notes.
Okay. In
I
which
guess I'll
case,
go back up.
yeah, Francis and Monique will leave, and I suppose we can call the scene there if Monique's okay with that.
Well, would there be anything to, discuss regarding all this that would be relevant, or could just skip it? Up to you.
Francis has a fairly lukewarm reception, somewhat conservative but not hostile. Yeah.
Well, I got some good ammo out of it, so I'm good.
Mm.
Out of character, do I need to make that declaration in the forms that I gave for that, or is that just declared because we're live?
Um,
It's a good question.
no, I think what we're gonna do, because actually, I need to give you, I need to send you a message, and
Yeah, because with the amount of resources and stuff I have, incendiary rounds are not hard to come by.
um, but yeah, we'll end the scene there. Thank you both for playing. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much for running it.